Anyway, all right, so I've already got kind of a bad taste in my mouth on this program because of the finish of the match, even though the match was good. But now to make sure that I have halitosis, the next matchup was the Women's Rumble. Rumble, young girl, rumble. How long was this thing?
Oh, it went by quick. It felt like 10 minutes.
So, here's the thing. Do you remember It's a Mad, 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 Mad World?
I do remember that movie. Yes, I tried to make my kids watch it about a year and a half ago. They refused.
Tried to make them and they didn't want to, and it didn't hook them, did it?
Nope.
If you're a Hollywood comedy purist like you and me, yeah, we've seen It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. But for the uninitiated out there, in 1963, I don't remember what studio it was, but a major motion picture company thought, we're going to make the funniest comedy movie in history. We're going to sign up every comedian and comic actor in Hollywood still alive to either have a starring role or a cameo part. They had everybody from Milton Berle to Dick Shawn, Mickey Rooney to the Three Stooges. It was a star-studded affair. Stanley Kramer was the director, right?
I'm not certain.
Big-time Hollywood director. A lot of stuff. Spencer Tracy was the antagonist in the piece that died in a wreck and left the clue to where the secret treasure was buried. A lot of stars.
Buddy Hackett.
Buddy Hackett was in the film.
Uncle Milty.
Did I mention Ethel Merman? The point is, it was 3 hours long. It had every comic actor in Hollywood in it, but it wasn't as funny as any of their individual movies because the material comes into play at some point and it drug, right? And it was a chase that never ended. And when it finally did end, it wasn't that satisfying of a conclusion. That's the way I feel about the Women's Rumble without knocking anybody in it. Without saying that all these women weren't stars, and there was a number of old friends and acquaintances of mine in it. It was a big budget production that was too long with too many stars and not enough story. And it drug. So I was watching things happen. And finally, I had to start skipping ahead a little bit just to find me somebody that I wanted to see. And here comes Rhea Ripley, number 16. She's a fucking movie star. She comes down the aisle like a badass. She sees the girls that she's mad at. And she goes in the ring and they took over on her before she had done one thing. And they get some steam on her. And then she comes out and she eliminated the two that she was mad at. And she gave the others some bumps a minute later. But it wasn't an Andre the Giant and a Battle Royal Impact. And we'll talk about this here later on in the Men's Rumble clip because it was more egregious then with a lot of people just wandered into the ring in these Rumbles and just everybody ignored them. And they just went and found somebody to start wailing on. Charlotte was out right after Rhea Ripley. They should have laid out a few while Ripley was in there, so when Charlotte came out, we could get a nice face-off with them without the other distractions. But basically, Charlotte leveled Rhea, dumped another girl, and did some spots with Naomi. All right. I'm skipping to Ronda Rousey because I'd already heard the news. 48 minutes into this match, Ronda Rousey makes her entrance. And it woke the people up. And though the news had been out that she was coming back imminently, that she was going to do something, but they didn't know what. So it was a nice surprise here in the Royal Rumble. Already people are starting to go, well, she's not going to bring any MMA fans to the WWE because, she lost her last few fights there and now she's in the phony wrestling business, whatever. She's still a star. People know her name. she's going to attract attention and publicity. Now, the problem there is, well, two problems, actually. Number one, the most diehard WWE fans that would be most predisposed to like and cheer for her being back are still pissed off at her because she ran her pie hole about the fake fighting in the wrestling business a couple years ago when apparently she thought she was going to just have babies at Browsey Acres and not do this anymore. So they're mad at her. And the manner in which she was exposed here in this match was completely the antithesis of the way that she got over to begin with, and that she could continue to get over if they didn't put her in positions like this. She was out there too long. She's too green for this environment. She can't do enough different stuff. I would venture to say, has she ever been in a battle royal before? I can't imagine where she would have been. Would you?
I don't remember if she was ever in a Royal Rumble before. That's my only other thought.
Well, she only debuted at 3 WrestleManias ago, and she's been gone for a couple. So this might, okay, if this was her second one, Jesus Christ, I got thrown in battle royals on spot shows in front of 150 people in Steele, Arkansas, or Steele, Missouri, and Osceola, Arkansas, when I first got started. And it's not an easy thing to, even if you can do shit, it's hard to do shit that looks good in that environment with that many moving parts. And there's things you don't want to take bumps with a crowded ring, blah, blah, blah. The point is, she needs the spotlight, bursts of action that she looks good in, and that's how she got over in UFC, beating those girls in a minute with the armbar. And that she got over in her initial match in the WWE in that mixed tag when everything was set up to make sense and showcase her strengths. And there was a lot of time here she was just left to wander around. And then Shayna Baszler came in at 30, and they acknowledged each other, and then they did some shit with other people, and then Baszler blasted Ripley and tossed a couple of others or whatever, but went to square off with Ronda, and the people came up, okay, the two shooters, and then Charlotte and the other girls got in the way. So we didn't see that. And again, the longer that this went, it was worse because Rousey looked like an amateur, which in some respects she still is because she's not done this very much and for a while. So Lita and Rhea Ripley were good together for about 30 seconds. I wouldn't mind seeing more Lita. And then Charlotte dumped Lita. Rousey did that nice spot where she got Ripley in a triangle with her arm, but around the rope, sort of like the upside down octopus thing and blah, blah, blah. And as they're in the ropes and Ripley's leaned over it, Charlotte dumps Ripley. So at least Rhea had an out, but Charlotte was great as usual. She dumped Belair and Baszler, and it come down, Brian, to Charlotte and Rousey. And I wrote, now we go to school. And they faced off, and Charlotte went for a big kick to the face, and Rousey ducked it and just dumped her. Just boosted her over the top and dumped her. That was it. She won. I'm sure we'll see that match now at WrestleMania, I would think. But it would have been nice to see all that shit they had Rousey doing to keep busy when there were all those other girls in there. Now all the spotlight is on her and Charlotte. They couldn't do 90 seconds to give us a little tease, like, oh shit, this is going to be good, and then dump. What'd you think?
Rousey had those Shane McMahon punches going.
Oh boy.
That was the first thing she started doing, was throwing those punches. And I was like, oh, I don't remember that. And then she just kept throwing those punches. And it was an interesting outfit for her return. And
I don't remember what she wore before, but it didn't look like that, did it?
No. And then, unfortunately, the surprise got out a day or two earlier that she was going to be there, but it still seemed like the fans were pretty surprised by it. So that's the reaction you want. The fans really don't care about what internet wrestling gossip is. But it went on a while. I would have debuted her. I would have not debuted her. I would have brought her out maybe number 28, maybe number 29. She was in there a while, and it did expose her a little bit.
And, I won't even say necessarily they were surprised, as just happy that she was in the match. They probably knew they were going to see her in some form, or if not that night, then imminently. But she got a pop because people know who she is. If they can keep her from having another one of her mental meltdowns, if she, like she had in the UFC, or getting pissed at the fans and calling the business fake fighting.
Yeah.
If they can just keep her on track, she won't run anybody else away, but she can also be a great heel. I don't know what they're going to do with her, but
notice they released Nia Jax right around the time they would have known she was definitely coming back.
Well, okay, now, so what do you think would happen? What do you think would happen if old Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey went at it? Because as we mentioned, would Ronda be able to put her armbar on a telephone pole? It's like doing wrestling moves to a couch, a refrigerator with a cape. She'd have to blow her up and then tap her out on the ground some kind of way like a beached whale. But
yeah, I think it would be like Keith Hackney versus Manny Yarborough.
Yeah.
From that early UFC where, once you get him down on the mat, then it's game over.
But just watch out for if Nia was to try to work with her. That could lead to serious injury.